They say my tummy is running. So, I did my best, but tomorrow I'll do better.
I know.
Because of that, I went to get salad. Like, I'm eating tushed now, fam.
Hey. Salad and refuse to give me salad. I'm just looking at you.
Well, how did you feel, Issy, afterwards?
I will go to that place myself and get mine. Oh, it was interesting. In fact, I hadn't done exercise in a very long time, and like I said, I'm a lazy exercise person. What I usually do is I like flexible exercises that you don't have to be.
So you were at home with it today.
So it was like coming back home for me. So I needed it, and in fact,
I actually feel very relaxed.
All the way.
I should be sleeping.
The marathon that we did today.
It's good.
And traffic.
Today was just something else, but we thank God we're here.
Absolutely.
So today we're not talking exercise or breathing or whatever, we're talking food security. And here's what we found in today's quote. The average person is still under the aberrant delusion that food should be somebody else's responsibility until I'm ready to eat it. That's from Joel Salatin. So what do you think, ladies? Elsie?
I think I'm part of the delusional ones right now. I think I am. Let me own my shame. Right.
I believe every Nigerian or everyone should have a little garden at the back of their houses.
My mom used to.
I know that those of us in Lagos, most of us are staying in rented apartments or something like that, or we don't have the ground or the space to, plant crops. But there are innovative ways which we can actually use to, produce
grow
these
some
crops.
Of our things,
yes,
right.
You can have a pot, you can have a flower bed. It depends on what you want to do, and you grow the kind of food you really want. It could be vegetables.
For the population, right?
No,
the population
it's
that
just we're starting with you doing your own bit.
I know a lot of people who are doing it.
I know a lot. In fact, funny thing is that it's not just common here in the north, right? Every family, you must have something at the back of your house that you're planting. It's a standard practice.
They do it a lot in Benin, but in Lagos is where
Lagos is a fast life there. It's a city. Right. So Nigeria is still characterized rather by high reliance on food import. Malnutrition is widespread in the entire country, and rural areas are especially vulnerable to chronic food shortages, malnutrition, unbalanced nutrition, erratic food supply, poor quality of food, high food costs, and even total lack of food. With the unending state of insecurity and high inflation rates, how can we encourage more farmers? Olushola is here to discuss this, but first, we'll take a break to see what we found in the news.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
You're still watching Ways. Now, Menstrual Hygiene Day is an annual awareness day on May 28 to highlight the importance of good menstrual hygiene management at a global level. It was initiated by the German-based NGO Wash United in 2014. In developing countries, women's choices of menstrual hygiene materials are often limited by the cost, availability, social norms, and adequate sanitation facilities and access to feminine hygiene products are one part of the solution. Creating a culture that welcomes discussion and makes adequate education for women and girls is of equal importance. Now, research has found that not having access to menstrual hygiene management products can keep girls home from school during their period each month. Now, Menstrual Hygiene Day is an occasion for publicizing information in the media, including social media, public information campaigns can help to engage decision makers in policy dialogue. Now, the day provides an opportunity to actively advocate for the integration of menstrual hygiene management into global, national, and local policies and programs. I had to spend my time to talk about this today because girls, I mean, I was privileged to meet with one of the founders of, she creates very, very innovative, she creates pads.
Reusable?
Reusable pads with charcoal and all of that. I can't remember her name now. And she told me how, you know, I didn't used to think this was a big deal, you know, because it's affordable for me. You know, I mean, my parents never had the problem of, you know, but girls had to use cloth, they had to use all sorts of things. So because of that, what they would just do is they would just stay away. They will stay away from going to school the period, you know, that their monthly circle come around. So I mean, this is a very important day to talk about, you know, things like this and raise awareness.
That, women who do not know, young girls especially, who do not know how to, you know, take care of themselves when they're actually having their period, they will be able to, you know that you have to keep yourself neat, clean, and so that you don't smell.
It's not even so much of, it's more of the ability to be able to buy the sanitary wares. Yeah.
I mean, I like that the conversation is ongoing and a day like this is now possible. This was just in 2014 and we've been having menstruation forever, right? So you have to begin to wonder why it's just 2014 that a day like this was so I'm glad it's going on, and like she said, because we're fighting a stigma around the conversation, so many people cannot actually sit down to have proper conversation with their daughters or people around them to tell them, let them understand this is what you should do, or this is how you should take care of yourself when you're having this. It's more like a secret thing. Oh, hush, hush, don't let anybody see your sanitary pad. I remember one day I was walking around with, and the interesting thing is the pad I use has this very funky way of packing their pieces, right? So I held it and I was walking, and someone was like, why would you be holding it like that and walking around? Like, why can't you hide it? I'm like, why exactly do I need to hide it, you know? So I like that we have more bold women that are having these conversations, and they're also helping to encourage people, sharing their own story as well, so that other girls can have them as role models in that regard. Do you understand? To be able to understand how they feel as well when this period comes, and what they can do, how they can take care of themselves, where they can get these reusable pads. Although we've also had conversation regarding reusable pad, when you bring it back to places like Nigeria and Africa, we still have water issue. And when you're using a reusable pad, you need loads of clean water
to be able to wash it. Then now a good place to air dry.
So that's another problem
on its own.
I think we'll probably find a day
to
have
a conversation around that. Yes. All right. So you know what? Let's just take a very short break. When we return, we'll continue the conversation. Stay with us.
Point. The way your baby's presenting, we have to rush you in. And my partner at the time was like, "You going to cut her? Are you going to cut her? Is it going to leave a scar?" And I said, "Am I a belly dancer? What is the problem here?"
No, I'm vulnerable about the future of the children, the future of mine and the future of the generation of my children.
I want to have nude pictures taken. Of you? Yes, but without showing my private parts. I want to put it in my front room. And they said, you can't do that. People will be embarrassed when they came into your house. I said, well, it's my body and it's my front room.
All the things that we do, what is the purpose of it?
I just realized that I was more trusting
before I was 6. So many women, they just feel like I have to cook for my husband, I have to breastfeed my children, I have to pick them from school.
Because society expects
Then you
them
go home and you cry and you stop your career, you can't do anything, then you blame everybody. You took that choice.
Are you ready to party right from the comfort of your TV screen? The Rundown's here to save the day. From freshly baked videos to the classics to the youngins and dope conversations, all in one chart. We got you covered. Just tune in to The Rundown every Friday, 10:30 p.m. West African time. The Rundown. Let's turn it up.
Contrary to popular belief, Corona is not a hoax. The virus is real. Be responsible. Wear a mask. Wash your hands with soap and water and avoid crowded places. Maintain physical distancing. Be responsible. Together, we can overcome the pandemic.
All right, so thanks for staying with us. We'll just quickly go to what we found in the news. Elsie, I'll come to you first.
Okay, so for me, it's a trending conversation I stumbled on Twitter this evening, which is a sad one. This is from Breaking Times, and they say over 150 people have been killed in Benue in the last 7 days by armed Fulani herdsmen. There's a systematic genocide going on in the middle belt of Nigeria, and it is largely underreported. So people are raising their voices towards this to call the attention of the government. I mean, I remember when you were having a conversation on cows, what did you call open grazing, and somebody called to talk about this same Benue issue, that the governor has been calling for help and the government hasn't said anything, but once you touch cow, they are talking. So that reminded me of that conversation as well. And I don't know, Nigeria, we need help. We do need help. People are dying in Benue State. This is also one of the things that is affecting food security in the country. Thank God we're having that conversation now, and our guests will come in.
It's the biggest issue affecting food security in the country.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's one of the
let's
things.
just come to you quickly.
Okay, they had in accident prevention, FG to equip 40 million children with reflective jackets was what actually caught my attention in the news today. And they're going to do this for children who are between the ages of 4 to 14 years of age. Let me use this because there's no good way to say this in English. Poor man pikin, they suffer. Because for me, these children are between the ages of 4 to 14. Why can't the federal government of Nigeria actually provide buses for these children and tell the parents to pay a token? Because already, the parents are already, they say education is free in Nigeria, but the parents are already paying administrative fees. So why can't we do the same for the buses? That way the children are actually safe based on the headline or the tag.
So like if a car loses the brakes and is driving towards a child that is trekking on the road, reflective jacket, like does it make sense? Reflective jacket is not for night time.
Look.
So do you want to tell me that this child will be trekking it at night? Like I don't understand where these policies come from. Honestly speaking, sometimes I just try to be calm, because when I saw that thing, I said, how ridiculous is this, for goodness sake? Is this like a joke?
Like it's okay for the children to actually trek to school.
Do you understand? Abroad, you can't even take your child to a location that is not within a specific, what's it called? Is it radius from your house? There are school buses that come to pick the children from their dormot every day. It was just on Monday here that we had Dr. Adigbeson, right? And we're talking how to restructure education towards nation building. With the whole big grammar that we spoke on Monday, to think that the people that are actually making policies and decisions in our Ministry of Education, if other ministers were present there, that's the part that's even paining me, because when you are inaugurating something reasonable now, you invite them, maybe a corporate organization has a better initiative and invites them, they'll be busy, they will send their representative, but they were present to commission reflective jackets for children. It's all right.
One thing that actually annoyed me about the whole thing, 1 minute, is this, that he said that it is in pursuant of good health and well-being of school children and the realization of quality education? What was quality
Who
education
sold
about
them
the
the
children?
idea and who bought it?
We'll bring this topic because this reflective jacket, I want to understand. It's like something.
How does this affect their education?
We need to open some of these
so they
people's
can
brains
check
and
to
check
schools
what
in
is
safety.
It's sad. It's so sad the way
Alright,
our
so
leaders
my
think.
story is just, this guy just likes to be in the news, so let me help him to continue the news. My joining APC will bring federal assistance to Cross River. When I saw this, I just laughed. So this governor, Ayade, that's Cross River State governor, he was saying that the state does not have reasonable allocation, and we're not part of the 13% derivative, so we are not part of the NDDC, we don't have oil. So according to him, this movement that he's moved to the APC will bring some form of progress because now he has some form of alliance.
So is he saying that President Muhammadu Buhari is purposely sidelining states of PDP governors and not sending them allocation?
And this is what we keep saying.
Or giving them what is rightfully theirs.
So for me, I just think
that is not what I'm saying. Is that what he's saying? I'm not saying
that's what he's saying, because, and that's what that is what is implying, because this is something we see over and over again, and I think we are tired. If you are an APC government, it shouldn't mean that you should now sideline a PDP state. Regardless, we are once elections are done and you've been elected, you throw away politics and you do governance, and governance does not know party.
Will the administration admit to what he's accusing them of now? Because this is an allegation too, whether they agree or not.
Our country is a very emotional.
We'll probably bring all these topics next week because there are just too many things to talk about, but we don't have time for them. I want to find a way to solve our food security problem in this country, because that one is a big issue. If hunger starts like this, everybody will go crazy. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the results of tomorrow's election. Okay, you have it already, Abi.
I am not hungry. If I need appointment, all I need to do is to start praising government.
Plus, politics will fill the polls of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let anybody come and say. The moment we stop having charlatans occupy political offices, we will curtail hate speech.
Plus Politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
He suffered equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, they go beat you. Now 2,500 and they pay.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, in Nigeria, about 3.7 million people across 16 states are food insecure. Several factors have driven this. These include civic conflicts, large-scale displacement, rising food prices, climate change, natural resource degradation, poverty, insecurity, and population growth. Amongst the most enduring and damaging impacts of Nigeria's oil and gas resource curse has been the long, steady decline of the country's agricultural sector. Once the primary source of government revenue and foreign exchange earnings, agriculture in Nigeria has suffered from decades of underinvestment, corruption, policy neglect, and loss opportunities. Now, today, despite its vast agricultural potential, the country is a net food importer of foods, with the vast majority of people engaged in agriculture operating at substantial or subsistence level, rather. How can we encourage more farmers to come into the space as we fight this looming food insecurity? Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Tweet at us at WayShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WayShow, or send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. So I'm going to bring in our guest like in 1 minute. I just wanted to hear your 1 minute on food insecurity or food security, whatever you want to call it. Which of them?
You want to go?
No, you go.
Okay, so I think it's a serious issue. With COVID-19 as well, we had statistics that was saying that if care is not taken and if things are not done properly, I think it's going to be in the next, if I'm not mistaken, 5 or 10 years, we're going to have serious food shortage. And right now that we already can see the prices of food going, or foodstuffs going up and up and up. I don't know the point we will get to, and I'll have to come to your house and say, wow, hey, how far, how will I eat? You know, we were talking about bread yesterday, right? Bread is going to be increased by 30%, and you can't blame them because sugar is up, flour is up, everything is up. So they have to make money. They are not running a charity organization. However, I like that we have people that are coming into the space and doing a lot. Of course, like Farm Crowdy, that we have someone from there. We have a lot of them, you know. I've been able to speak to a few of them, and they're doing what they can do. However, they need help.
It's still not enough.
Insecurity is one of the biggest issue at the moment, because most of them have decided to just carry their load away from the areas that are battled and, you know, go to where they can work. But things have to be done. So I'm waiting for this solution.
So how is it affecting you?
Food has to increase in the market, basically, you know, and you go to the market. The other day I went to the market to buy yam, and yam was about 2,005 for a good tuber. Yes, a good tuber. I'm not joking. And in the process, I also discovered that some of the tubers were spoiled. So you see, based on the fact that probably during the period of transportation it got spoiled and everything.
We have storage issues.
So we have storage issues as well, and we have to
a very big one,
step up and, you know,
do you know that if we can even find a creative way to even just stop the wastage, that's the ones that the farmers lose as a result of. That one alone is enough to solve the food security insecurity problem that we have. All right, so let me bring in our guest. Olushola Oyawale is a disruptive innovator with vast experience in business intelligence and analytics, with a significant part of his career in business consulting. He has, over the years, whether in the line of management or consulting capacity, worked on projects in Nigeria, countries also within the West African coast and the United Kingdom. He has structured and pivoted a few successful startups focused on wealth management, hospitality, and most recently, agri-tech, when he joined Farm Crowdy Limited. Now, the agricultural platform that empowers smallholder farmers by providing them with access to finance, smart farming techniques, and access to market for the scale of their farm produce. And he's joined us live in studio. Thank you so much, Olushola.
Thank you for having me.
So I saw you just nodding, you know, because we are like, Nigeria is blessed.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people that do not even have lands to farm in. And agriculture, you know, where we're happy that people are now coming back to the space. But, you know, a lot has really gone wrong in that sector. So maybe we should just start from the background. Where are we at currently? You know, because we know that, yes, there are looming insecurity, food shortages coming, you know, but is that the reality, or with the influx of more people coming into the agricultural space, maybe that gap is going smaller?
All right, so I'd say we still produce not enough of anything, as it were. In sane climes, you see a situation where local production, net of local consumption, and then that balance, we start talking exports, We're doing a lot of exports, you know, as a country, but for obvious reasons, FX. While we're producing not enough for even local consumption, as it were. I think optimizing, and that's why your thoughts when, you know, you started this segment around what should be done, and that's why I was nodding my head. You're thinking in the right direction. We need more people, but more importantly, we need to optimize the existing systems. Someone had talked about waste. Post-harvest losses is one of those critical places. What the UN recognizes as food security is when a people have access to economic, physical, nutritionous or nutritional meal, per time, in the right quantity that is required. That is when we say, look, that's there's food security in that place. But we don't have enough of that happening. You're complaining about food being expensive in the market. We have places where they don't even have enough to eat. So we're not even measuring nutrition. There's about what a child should eat at certain ages to ensure that their brains develop properly and they don't, get into the quagmire of what society just wants to fit them into. So I'll say optimizing the existing systems is key. Lip service is paid, but I'll talk just a bit about what we do. We see a situation where a smallholder farmer has to travel long distances. In some cases, it's a market day. Let's assume market day is Tuesday. Probably starts his journey on Saturday, Sunday. If that vehicle breaks down, he's in trouble. Half the time, he might not get to the market on the market day, which means when he gets there,
the entire harvest is
gone.
Go bad.
It can either go bad or whatever is left of it is sold for to nothing at the end of the day. So what we've done creatively in some areas across the nation is to put together what we've called aggregation centers. We have over 100 of them. What we've tried to do with that is to situate it close to farm gates for major farming communities, where these farmers can bring, their produce without traveling very far. Just move it in there, get paid for it, and half the time they can also buy input, for their next farming season. It crashes, cost of logistics to them. It then reduces post-harvest losses, and just increases, the quantity of food available at least across those farm gates. That's one thing we've done creatively. In looking at what exists, it's always good to tackle an issue
and build from there,
and then build from there.
Yeah.
You talked about
Go ahead.
You talked about optimization, basically, and in terms of optimization, you said that we need to do something about it. So what are the steps that the government needs to take to actually optimize it? Or what are the steps we also have to take to optimize it?
I mean, government will play their part, and you'd see in more recent times private participation in agri-value chains. Value chains are vast, I think one of the things we need to focus on is if we're able to make sure what we plant, at least the harvest, is secure. I think what we need to go further up to do is to ensure that we're processing more. When we get more into processing, it allows, for us to extend those value chains at levels where they become more profitable, and then we can become, more sufficient. We take our cocoa today and just export, boom.
We don't convert.
And then we import that same cocoa as chocolate and beverages of all sorts. So I feel part of optimizing is going further down the value chain on each of our aggregate, of our products. It goes a long way in ensuring we have more food, depend less on importation. Some can't feed on anything imported. They can't even afford what's produced locally to then talk about, buying something that is imported. So if we will ever achieve a situation, I think we're ranked about 30 or so, in the world ranking on economies, that are food secure, as it were. It's not looking very good, but then it's not so bad. But then we're having more players come into this place, working to optimize, because right now the volatility, security can't allow more people go to the farms. I mean, what happened during the pandemic? A lot of loss, came out of that period. But now it's a security issue. People are saying, look, I need you to aggregate this commodity for me You get it when you go into the farms. You get it at the best rates, so that the processor can also make good margins. But you can't go further in because of insecurity issues. So
yeah. So you said something at the beginning that we don't even produce enough of anything that we need. So how can we begin to encourage more farmers? Or maybe I should ask, how many more farmers do we need? Right? So how can we get more people, people who are just interested and people who as well would do what you just talking about, optimizing, to ensure that we can at least produce what we need in whatever capacity that is.
All right, so you see more ag-tech companies, one agricultural technology company. You see more ag-tech companies springing up. When we started off as a crowdfunding platform and making agriculture appealing to young people. Because while we're trying to tackle the issues right now, you find out that the farmers we're working with, the majority of them are mid-aged to, high up, old, as it were. So you also need to start thinking, and working with them has been very difficult. These guys have been molded and shaped by perceptions and mindsets.
They are not open to creativity.
They're not receptive to these minimum levels of change that can really give us, that additional success we need. And so you find most of them stuck in ways of farming, from many years ago, and that's why we brought in smart farming skills to part of the offerings we're giving the smallholder farmers. Teach them to do things differently. But some tell you, look, when you plant and diseases come, whatever they leave is what God really wants us to have. Let them, whatever is left is what God really wants us to have. When you're dealing with people, that's kind of mindset. So getting more young people interested in agriculture. When our app was launched in 2017, it was owning a farm in your pocket. That was the acronym. I've got a wide followership of young people. We also have a platform called the Agric Square. It's like your typical Nairaland. And you can go there and just ask questions. We deal with topical issues from time to time. So we have a community that is over 30,000 strong, young people.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong here. This community are people who really want to invest their money. They're not ready to get their hands dirty. And from what you just said, the people you are working with right now in the farm are mid-aged and elderly. Means we need younger people to be interested.
True.
So do you think there's anything the government can do? Because like you said, we can't do this alone without them stepping in. Is there any form of incentive? And I'm not talking about a trader money kind of incentive. Is there anything?
Why do people will keep calling government? You know what? He answer you after the break. We need to take a very short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome to The Breakfast.
A breakfast where we unbundle top and big stories of the day.
Is vaccine the only way out of this pandemic?
No, definitely not.
Many Ghanaians just want a peaceful election and they are hoping there will be no rigging.
There is nothing bad in borrowing for infrastructure. The minister added that he was impressed.
Please come and see yourself what we are doing with the money we have borrowed.
It's very important. The way we brand ourselves is the way people will carry us.
It's just the driver of the two vehicles that were completely bad. This one was here screaming.
What do you recommend the government do to support this sector?
Direct intervention, that's what every government all over the world has done.
We are not a parallel security structure. AMOTEKUN core is a complementary core.
What I will not encourage Christians to do is to carry dagger and follow anybody. No.
Join us on The Breakfast, 7 a.m., Monday to Friday.
If you're tuning in, we're discussing food security, and that's our focus tonight, and we're learning how we can encourage more farmers to come into the space. Please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Tweet at us at WayShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WayShow, or send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. All right, so Elsie, before we went on the break, you were asking... Yeah.
So I was talking about
government.
Bringing in... Leave government alone. I was talking about bringing in having some form of incentive that would attract younger people, and not just to invest in terms of money, like to to get their hands dirty, right? What would you think? What would that be? What can be done? Because if this is not tackled now, in the next 5 to 10 years, that would probably be the major problem in that sector. So what can be done?
All right, so I'd say taking a cue from what we've done is to make it more attractive. We've embedded technology. Young people are easily endeared, towards technology. When you tell a young person today, farming, what comes to their mind is till the ground, hoe, cutlass, but it can be mechanized. It can really be great. It's painting that picture of what looks, really modern and what technology can do in supporting. But the greatest thing I want to see from government is some policy changes that affects those who go to school to study agriculture.
Okay.
I know growing up, I have a few friends who attended the Federal University of Agriculture. I always looked at them like, exactly. They couldn't meet cut off for stuff. But I feel going to colleges and institutions of agriculture, placing people who choose to do that on certain scholarships that gives them the headway, or the head start, to then have more happen in that place would help, I believe.
All right, so I was going to ask, because we are farmers, right? And trust me, I would love to travel. I love to spend money. But since we started this farm in 2013, it's like you are just going and you're dumping money, the money is not coming back. When you were talking about government policies, I like the fact that you brought about scholarship. But you see, I know from experience that to mechanize a farm, however small that farm is, you require certain kinds of heavy-duty equipment. And these equipments, they do not come cheap. So first we met a bank, they say, oh, come, we'll give you these blah, blah, blah stories. But because of our integrity, we walked up to the manufacturers of those equipments, like the tractors, the excavators, the planters, and all of that. And we had a structured payment. So over the years, we've been able to acquire all the equipment that we have on our farm based on that arrangement. But how many of these young people can do that? So how do you think the government can come in terms of equipment, empowering this young people that are interested in farming with the right equipment, because you need the tools, right? You can't do hoe and farm anymore, and it has to be meaningful. It has to be something that it's easily accessible and not because most times when I see government do things, I just think it's paperwork. It's just for the gram. But in real life, you can't access those things. So what do you think would be a perfect solution to getting those farms mechanized?
All right, it takes a lot of planning. Having farming estates more or less like reduces this headache, and if the government would invest heavily in farming estates, it means whatever value chain you want to get into, that's where you'd go, and then you'd have some of these things there. In fairness, when it comes to processing, government has done some of the government abattoirs, for example, where there's one in Agege. If you want to raise pigs, for example, you get a lot in there. Infrastructure is already set up, is in there. But then, of course, it takes a huge capital outlay. The private sector, unfortunately, won't have access to that much of patient capital to be able to put these sort of things in place. You see, government will say, look, we've got silos across the country, for example. Some private players use them when they need to. So I feel farming estates will go a long way. I mean, there's arable land in Nigeria. I mean,
so when you mean farming estate, break it down for me. So it means like hectares of land.
Yes.
They would have all the equipment there. So you just come, plug and play. I'm going to farm on 6 acres.
Yes.
That's what you mean.
Yes.
Okay.
So you get your lot in there. If it's 6 acres, If you need to pay, you know you're paying rental on 6 acres.
Fantastic.
And then I feel for agriculture, for many people who have a flair or interest in agriculture, half the time they don't do it as agribusiness.
Okay.
Yes, the business of agriculture also needs to be learned and understood. It needs to be embedded in curriculum. You know, I was speaking at the LBS a few months ago, and that was, you know, part of the discourse to say, look, curriculum needs to reflect. Don't just teach someone agriculture.
You do it as passion.
And then, yeah, but the business side of it, for example, the application, we don't get into any project until the economics of that project
is viable.
No,
but
and
is
where
there
it's not
any
viable.
Sorry, Elsie. Is there any? Sorry, I'm just wanting to land this point well. Yeah. Is there any agricultural business that is not viable?
Well,
in terms of agri,
if you're not, all should be viable. But when you're not measuring correctly, you know, all of the input that goes into it, and making slight margins for things going wrong, or building metrics to show across the seasons of the year when, you know, cost of these spikes, when it comes down and things like that, you run into troubles easily. And so, economies of production is what we call it. We usually build it, and because we've done it across several value chains over many years, it's now we've tweaked and tweaked and tweaked. We have an average to say, look, if I'm going into maize, if I'm going to do maize and it's 1 hectare, I know where I need to go to in Nigeria to get the best yield, because that is also another thing you need to consider. Maize will grow outside here in Victoria Island, but you're not going to get the same yield like if you go up north Kaduna in some areas specifically. So all of that is what should inform your decision. But today, hey, I've got some land somewhere, I just want to do agriculture, I feel I want to plant pepper, and then you start, and then
pepper is not doing well.
Pepper is not doing well. Okay, maybe I should do maize. But see, these things are driven by clear metrics that if you're taught or if you understand agribusiness, you won't get into that, you know, hole of starting and not knowing when it goes. And the thing for us is when you put personal money in it, you get so passionate. We've worked with a lot of farmers. If you stay with a farmer long enough, you become poor, because you'll become extremely emotional. You just want to see things move from point A to point B at any cost. And then at the end of the day, it doesn't make business sense. But part of the things we've done, even when we ran, you know, our crowdfunding model, was a lot of, you know, work to ensure that you put, and that you put money to work, get it out, and make returns to everybody who aggregated that. So if it's personal funds, and that was how we were able to convince a lot of people at the time to say, why don't you sit back and watch your money work for you? And then we'll send them videos, we'll send them pictures, we'll send them texts, we'll take them on field trips at times to go see what is happening, just to understand it can't be treated like a sport. It's a business.
Yeah, I think that's why I like mine is a question, just to add to what he's saying, is why I'd like us to go back to what you said regarding the government bringing in some form of scholarship when it comes to this business, because it is okay. So the other day we were talking and we saw that is it Benue State now, one state that is sending people on scholarship to go and study Arabic and Quran, and we have sectors in the economy that needs brain power, that needs rehabilitation, like you said. So why are you not sending people to the countries with the best agricultural technology for them to go and understand what it is, come back and then implement it, you know? So I think we need to go back to really that conversation about what we're doing about our agricultural schools and how we perceive them as well.
I agree with you.
And let's not talk about the Minister of Agriculture that took money out and used it for mosque. So going forward, I'm happy you talked about agri-technology in terms of what technology can do with agri, but you didn't buttress what you can do with it, apart from you launching your app with it. So what else can technology do to encourage the younger ones who are interested in agri?
All right, so across the projects we do, We've got, now, the issue of data is important. And that's a big thing around here, where you don't have data to support what happened. Government spends a lot of money, in fairness to government. But part of the things we lack is accurate data to track the efficiency, the effectiveness of the spend. And half the time, what that does is, it doesn't give us enough information to know, look, what are we doing next? What were the pitfalls, and what are we doing differently? Now, for us, some of what technology has done for us is to be able to keep data for farmers. And we have a network of over 400,000 farmers today that we have from, the biometrics to their farmland size, where it's located, what value chains they've worked on, if they've ever taken a loan, what their performance has been, what the size of their family is, because that also influences if you give a smallholder farmer money to do business. If his level of dependency is high, he probably shouldn't pass your credit scoring, because some of those things will one way or the other.
It might move funds to something else.
It will affect how funds is used, and so it's not a lot of money goes into agriculture in Nigeria every year. It's a lot of money.
A lot of money goes into everything
but then,
in Nigeria.
Tracing every kobo to deliver the result we want.
The results are not measurable to the amount of money that goes into. But I was going to say that you keep saying when we were. Is it that you're not doing crowdfunding again? No, why is that?
Okay, right. So,
because I know that funds still remains one of the biggest things that farmers would always need. So why are we not?
It is. We've only just shifted focus to other sources, FDIs, donor agencies, agric loans from the CBN specific. There are quite a few of them.
How patient are those agric loans, though?
They're quite patient. I mean, they will work with you, depending on what you set out to do. In some cases, 3-5 years. And then, if you have monies to cultivate maize for 5 years net, you'll do very well.
Okay, so let me give you a practical question now.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a farmer out there, and they've gone this far, and they need to move or scale up their farmland. Do they come to you? How do you come in? How do you help them? Because again, there are issues with anything that you want to apply in terms of loans and all of that. There are issues with the documentation, the land. So what are the exact help that you would give to that farmer that will say, okay, you know what, we got you covered?
My quickest advice would be that every farmer should belong to a cooperative. All of this funding that goes into agriculture, whether from the federal level or the state levels, will go through a cooperative. Even when we were doing crowdfunding actively, we were working with cooperatives, because look, that level of due diligence to say, we know this person and this person's activity will be monitored, has to go through a channel that has some level of credibility, and then they cross-guarantee one another in some cases. So if 4 of us cross-guarantee ourselves, and we've taken some loan to do a project, for example, by the time you say I'm going to our own farm at night, to go and be taking some of the harvest and hiding somewhere, you'll be the one to come and call me, this woman is going to spoil this whole game at the end of it. Come and check what this woman is. She's going to the farm in the night. I don't know what she's going there to do. And those are some of the gains of the cross guarantees that happens within cooperatives. I'd say why we looked away from it, for now, it's simply because we need to be able to do bigger projects, and we also need patient capital. Crowdfunding is not patient capital, and it is also expensive, as it were. So we've got cheaper alternatives today, but then we can also scale and do bigger projects.
Okay. So if you are looking at the agricultural sector, right, in the next 5 years, where do you see us in the agri sector? Do you think we truly have the capacity to fight the looming food shortage? Yeah, and again, well, we already know the security challenges, but let's just keep that one aside. I'm not in the mood for government this night. So what do you think? Where do you see us?
Well, I think we'll do better. We're creating ingenious ways of getting around these things. Communication, having channels that are more transparent to communicate with farmers, and within their local, the system there is trusted, in a way. So if they need to get stuff out of their area, you might be the one endangered for going there maybe, But if they need to get stuff out to a major market where offtake can happen, most of those things still happen. 5 years from now, I feel agriculture being the backbone of the economy, we say it a lot, you know, but I feel we'll see, you know, good results. Last year set us back, no doubt, you know, as a country.
COVID,
yeah, we were almost beginning to launch. We had several projects lined up for last year, for example, that have not started, and just about when they were meant to start this year, insecurity issues are the next things, you know,
we're facing as a country.
But I'm saying there is local intelligence for every farming community in Nigeria today. You know, farming activities are still going on. It's not as bad as it seems. Yeah. For where they stay and within them, except the whole community is raided. And then we'll know.
Yeah, we have like we have like
thing.
those local. Let's take messages. We have those local vigilante. You know, they always. So I mean,
go around,
they protect the farmlands. You know. So Isi, I think you should go first. This one is talking about.
So a message here says the United States Department of Agriculture has distributed up to $12 billion in financial aid to agricultural producers in 2018, but our government are doing not well in terms of aid to farmers here. Multinationals depend on ordinary farmers for their raw materials, and how can we have food security? I guess that's what we've been talking about, right? You see.
Okay, this is from Richard, and he says, Nigerian politicians are comedians. If Professor Ayade could say he has to move to the center to gain favor, that shows he's not worthy. He's not a worthy being. He's not worthy of being a professor. And the big question is, how many favor has those APC states gotten from the center that is making Ayade to move to APC?
Okay, so we're not discussing
what's
politics.
in the news? Yeah, no, it's going to what's in the
Well,
news. But I have a question. I don't know if
quickly,
this
in 1
time
minute.
can. Yeah, I don't know. But talking about food processing, and I see people struggling to get into that place. Like you talked about, we exporting cocoa and bringing back chocolate, and I know people are trying to do this food, snacks, and all that. It is not easy, right? What would you advise anyone who wants to go into that? Because if you want to start breaking down the issues there now, there's no time. What would you advise people who want to go into food processing?
I would say again, you know, team effort, teamwork should be encouraged. If you have a novel idea, for example, try to create a think tank, bring partnerships together. I mean, we're used to carrying little portfolios, you know, amounting to nothing. We've done massive collaborations, and that has given us the kind of traction, you know, we've had as a business. I feel once you start collaborating heavily, then it brings down the unit cost of what everybody needs to put on the table to get some of this equipment set up. And I mean, if we are working with the mind that we are all working towards food security for Nigeria, we should be partnering. We've partnered with pretty much everyone and anyone that can add value to the vision we have as a business. I used to manage partnerships for Farm Crowdy, you know, at the early days. And so that is key. And we've not reneged on that decision. We're very heavy, whether local, whether international, you know, there is always
it's just issues of, you know, trust and all of that. That's why a lot of people would just say, you know what, I'd rather play small. You know, instead of taking 1% of a billion, I'd rather just take 100% of 1,000. That's what people do. But the future is collaboration. And honestly speaking, we are happy that, you know, people like you are out there, because whether we like it or not, we have. I don't think we are 200 million. I think we're over 200 million people. If we truly want to count, you know. So, and we should actually be producing. In fact, if we produce what we consume alone, the economy would just, you know, it will turn all this nonsense that we're having with our economic numbers. It will just skyrocket. It will be a better economy for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
I hope you had fun with us, and I hope you come back again.
I will.
We really need to talk more on this, because we want to find practical solutions. You know, find a way to also partner with you guys and collaborate. Because this is why we're also doing this. Is to also. Not just come on TV and look pretty, but to find practical solutions to our national problem, in case some of the people that are in government are not doing their work. We want to help them. All right, thank you, ladies. All right, so WAYS was birthed from the need to inform, inspire, and influence lives towards action. And this year, we started our CSR focused on curbing unemployment in Nigeria. So if you're a company, please partner with us, allocating internship slots. And if you're a job seeker, keep watching Ways and follow us on all our social media handles, as this will be an all-year-round engagement. So tell your friends to keep all eyes on Ways. Now, in case you missed today's quote, here it is again. The average person is still under the aberrant delusion that food should be somebody else's responsibility until I'm ready to eat it. This is a very interesting quote. So we'll see you live on Monday at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to you. Oh, it's great. Enjoy your weekend.